Eli Sam, my lord, Eli Sam. I can't sing. I've never been able to sing, so I'm not going to carry any further, but you all know what I mean. Only the one man we can start with on the show tonight. 2 goals on a very rare start for our striker. Can this be a kickstart for him for the rest of the season? Your thoughts and views, please. In the trophy still, and off to Halifax we go. What do you think of that one? I missed the game earlier this season, stuck in Sicily, late flight back. I'm looking forward to a trip, my first, to the Shade this season. But are you? Those of you who went and stayed to the most bitter of ends, let's have your thoughts and views. And after 4 straight wins in the league, 6 including the trophy, it's Barnet coming to Meadow Lane on Friday night. And one of our guests this evening, Les Brad, will be telling us about a very, very special guest, a managerial legend who is coming back to the Lane. What are our thoughts on Friday evening games? During Alan Hardy's tenure, he gave serious thought to moving quite a few matches from a Saturday to a Friday evening. What do you reckon? And details of Colin Slater's funeral have been announced by the club. Our own Notts County State funeral at St Mary's Church on Monday, January the 31st, with his own tribute this evening, will be Les. Also joined by Chloe, complete with black and white wallpaper. Chloe, good to see you. And both of you two have battled back from COVID. Chloe, you're feeling better now? You're at the ground Saturday, I believe.
Yes, so recovered in time to get back to Meadow Lane, which was the best part about it.
Very good. Les, you're over your COVID?
Yes, I didn't suffer with too many symptoms, just a tickly throat on the following day after was positive. But other than that, it was fine. So I just think it's a positive thing to get the vaccines, definitely.
Okay. A few thoughts and views. We're joined by the Halifax Town Fans Podcast, Shaman Talk. Thoughts on drawing Halifax in the FA Trophy. We'll come on to that in a moment. Chris Gosling, probably a poor draw for both of us, really. Ian Birchinall, evening all. Shaman, may best team win. Tough draw for us both. Jurgen Halligan, rubbish draw. Chris Gosling, can we arrange for a priest to carry out an exorcism to get rid of the demons of the Shay? Jurgen Halligan, see Tyrese Palmer off to Baseford on loan. He is 6 out of 6 against Melton, so moving 1 or 2 rungs up the non-league pyramid to Baseford. Ian Birchinall, Shaman, Wrexham and Wood also gets rid of another top team. Yeah, it's noticeable the draw on TalkSport today. Big clubs, National League paired together, some of the smaller clubs paired together also. Robert Hallam, Holland. I wonder if Sam will get more time. He's certainly earned it. I don't think Mitchell has had the impact we hope for. I hope I'm wrong about that. So we need a striker option off the bench. Right, we're going to come on to the managerial legend who will be coming to watch us on Friday in a minute. Les can give us some details on that. But we have to start the show, don't we? You can't start anywhere else than with Eli Sam. 2 goals gets us through to the next round. Les, as Notts County's record all-time goal scorer for time immemorial, long after we'll all be pushing up daisies, I suspect. Give us your view on Eli.
Well, I was suffering with COVID when we played Wrexham. My 2 sons went to the match and they came round on the Sunday. The following week on the Sunday, and they were amazed at how well Eli had played in that central position. They did say that he missed a couple of good chances, but how well he played. I'm not sure what he feels is his natural position. We've basically only seen him playing down the left-hand side. I don't know if that suits him. I don't know how he feels about it, but certainly on Saturday, I saw a guy who was playing as a central striker and doing it really well. He was a constant threat to the centre half. He was getting his body in place. He was holding up the ball. He's doing everything that a centre forward should do, and he scored 2 goals as well. Yes, he's certainly one that we can say yes, he can step into that role if Kyle's not around. He did a great job on Saturday.
You would know above virtually all of us, strikers live on goals, don't they? You know, as much as we talk around all-round play, if you're a striker and go 15 games without scoring a goal, yes, you might pick up your all-round play, but as a striker, you're there to put the ball in the back of the net. So 2 goals. How is that something that can potentially kick-start him between now and the end of the season? How's he going to feel now as opposed to how he felt last week?
He will be on a high. But at the same time, he'll be wondering whether he's going to get selected on Friday evening to start the game. As we know, Ian's preferred setup of the team is basically having one up there and the other lads buzzing around him. Do you think that Eli will come in and keep his place over Kyle, or do you think Kyle will come back? I'm not sure. Ian is a positive guy. He's got lots of options. We know what his preferred option is, but we know, well, I certainly know from going to King's Lynn that for 45 minutes, that preferred option wasn't working too well. And he changed it at half time and we saw what happened after that. So great credit to him. Eli just has to keep doing what he's doing, what we saw on Saturday, and wait for that opportunity. You know, he could start the game. I'm not sure whether he will or he won't. But he's throwing the right vibes, the right information back to Ian to say, look, I'm ready. I can do this now. And you can't do any more than that.
Chloe, watching from the stand, what did you make of Eli on Saturday?
I mean, I can't really fault him, to be fair. Like Les said, he came on against Wrexham, and I think probably surprised us all. Don't think I've seen him once this season, thinking back. But yeah, he had an impact. We talk about, obviously, he missed a couple of chances, but you're talking about someone who hasn't played a competitive game in months. So for him to come on and play the way he did, I think Ian was definitely looking at him for the trophy game, and then he again stepped up. The first goal, I think, it's a striker's goal. It was a well-worked goal from Mitchell, Sam and Vincent, to be fair. But you've still got to put them in when you're low on confidence. It's not the easiest thing. And then the second one's just a great finish. So, yeah, listening to his interview as well, he is on top of the world at the minute. And it's great because we want competition for places. Everyone talks about how we haven't got anyone up front other than Wootton and our options aren't good enough. Well, you've now got someone with a bit of confidence who's playing well in the last couple of games. So it's the best option to have. So, yeah, I really can't fault him. And just the chance must have just picked him up even more after the second goal. It was great to see.
Look, I think we all know, and Les is being very polite, that Kyle Wootton is your go-to number 9, okay? But sometimes it doesn't fire. Kyle may be injured. Very rarely that's the case. I guess you'd be looking at Cairo Mitchell as the person to start if Kyle wasn't there. And also Cairo has started in some games and come off the bench. Does Eli now push himself much closer, do you think, in the manager's estimation, Les, after those 2 goals, to being, you know, pushing Cairo for that second striker slot, the first striker to come off the bench if it's needed?
Well, certainly if I was manager, that's what I was thinking. 6 or 7 changes made on Saturday to give fringe players, those coming back from injury, those that's had COVID, opportunity. I felt 1 or 2 was still a little rusty. He stuck out for me, Eli, you know, above the others as being a guy that was ready to come straight in and if needed. So you as a player, you can't do any more than than your best and be effective on the pitch. He was effective on the pitch, not just with his goals, but with his all-round play. Balls were being knocked up and he was fighting for them. He was controlling them and he wasn't losing them. And that's a great plus to the manager. So, I don't know what the manager's thinking for Friday night, his tactics against Barnet, but certainly Eli will be on the agenda if he's looking for central strikers to hold up the ball. Can't do any more than that.
When I look at Eli, it reminds me a little bit back in the 90s when I was at Leicester City and Brian Little signed Ian Ormondroyd. Very tall guy, if you remember him, 6'5", 6'6", huge. And he had a tough time. Never a massive goal scorer. And he had a really tough time. And the home fans got on his back at home games. Away from home, he kind of then developed a bit of a cult following among the away fans. They tend to be the most committed of supporters, those that travel home and away. And he had an important role to play in Leicester ultimately getting promoted, played in the playoff final against Derby. And I do believe that every single player in this group of players at the minute, for us to get up, there'll be a little role to play for them somewhere, helping us get points here, nicking something there. And I think your real hope, Chloe, is that this can be a bit of a springboard for him. At King's Lynn, there was the chant coming, Eli Sam, oh my Lord, all the rest of it. And you can see the fans, the last couple of games, just kind of looking to encourage Eli rather than there's almost, and that's important to the player. That's important to the player.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we talk about the trophy a lot. There's kind of half of us want us to go for it, and it's a chance to get to Wembley and some silverware. And the other half are like, we need to concentrate on the league, don't get injuries. I also see it as a real opportunity for those fringe players, for the players that are coming back from injury, from players that don't get many minutes at all. I mean, we saw it last season as well. Eli Sam got most of his minutes in the trophy and scored some goals again. I think there was quite a few games that he scored in actually in the trophy, but then didn't really get a chance in the league. And it depends now. He actually started off with a chance against Wrexham, obviously impressed, and was in against the trophy and then scored 2 goals. So it's just another opportunity to get his confidence up, and other players as well. And we saw, I think it was might have been the FA Cup actually, that Vincent came in for the first time, and we saw him and how good he was in the cup. So I think cup competitions and trophy competitions are massive for us to see if we've got players that can step up. And obviously we're in the January transfer window now. So does that kind of give the manager a lot of kind of hope that what we've already got is good enough, and then he knows where we do need to add? So I see so many positives out of the FA Trophy, to be honest. And again, it wasn't one of our best games, and we all know that. But again, we've progressed. We've got what we wanted out of it. Should be unscathed as far as I know. And then we've got to see more of what the players that we've already got can do. So yeah, we all know my opinion on the cup, the trophy, sorry, but with a difficult draw. I mean, I don't know if it will be the same team or whether he's going to have to start a couple of our first team now, because I mean, it's a very difficult draw, probably the toughest we could have got. But yeah, a good all-round day, especially for Eli in the trophy. So yeah, it's all happy days over here.
Okay, well, we're just going to keep on hold the figure that will be coming to the game Friday, who I know everybody will want to see and get their photos and all the rest of it. But as our message boards at the minute, with the presence of Shame and Talk, seems to be dominated by another trip up to Halifax this season. There seems to be quite a lot of banter about food, all sorts of different things. Did both of you go to the first game?
Unfortunately, yes, I was there.
I was there.
You still have nightmares about it, Les?
The experience that I had, I'd travelled up by car with my youngest son, Tim. He works at Trent Bridge and he had to be at work the following day early. We had a car park pass at the back of the main stand at Halifax. We got parked in there. We watched the game and felt that Notts County played really well. Went 2-0 up. Halifax had the player sent off. And with probably around 10 minutes to go, we said we'll leave before the end so we don't get trapped in the... As we got up to leave our seats, Halifax scored their first goal. And we made our way to the car and we got away from the ground thinking that Notts would have won the game. And then we switched on the radio to hear that they lost 3-2 and looked at each other and just could not believe how we had conceded 3 goals. So, in fact, that was the start of a week and a very poor week in the season of Notts County. We lost 3 games in a week. That week started with the loss of 3 centre halves, a goalkeeper, and our game winner, Carl Roberts. And I'm not calling any of the replacements that came in, but it is very difficult to lose players of that calibre and then go and win. And we suffered badly for that week. Other than that, I think we've lost one other game, haven't we, over the course of the season? So, you know, things have gone pretty well there. And if I can just go back to the cup, you know, I've got a bit of a concern here because we're losing out on Solihull away on a Saturday afternoon to play that match. And regardless of what result we get at Halifax, I'm pretty sure that Stockport County are going to win their game against Cheshire, and that's the next round. So that game is going to be off, and so it means that we're likely to be going up to Stockport on a Tuesday night. You know, Solihull on a Tuesday night. We've already had to rearrange Chesterfield on a Tuesday night. You know, we're losing numbers that's going to go and support the team. It's making life tough a little.
Chloe, now you specialise in leaving and missing Notts County goals in the dying minutes, i.e. Grimsby, 90th minute winner there. Did you see it out to the bitter end at Halifax?
I didn't. I didn't.
At least you're consistent. Anyway, at least you're consistent.
Well, like Les says, it was kind of a dream start. Well, it was a dream. I don't know how long it went on for. I'd say up to 75 minutes, really. Playing well, got a few new players in, but look comfortable. They've gone down to 10 men. We're 2-0 up. And it all just comes crumbling down very, very quickly. So I was there. I saw the second goal in. And then I thought, and we was literally coming into added time, and I thought, I'm very disappointed at a draw out of this game. I was mortified that we managed to concede 2 with how well we were playing. So I thought, in my kind of angry moment, I was like, right, I'm just going to the toilet, and I'm sure we're a couple of minutes away from the final whistle. I thought, I'm not seeing it in. Nip to the toilet before we get in the car for a couple of hours journey back. And I come out of where the toilets are, and all of these Notts fans are piling out, fuming and shouting. And I'm thinking, I knew exactly what had happened. You could kind of hear the cheer. And then I looked at one of my friends and they just kind of nodded at me as if to say, yeah, that was the third. So it was a better one to miss than the Grimsby one. But yeah, it was an awful result. And like Les says, it led on to a couple of even worse results, really. But hopefully that's been our dip, and we've been so much better since then. And we've really kicked on. So, but yes, a few bad memories over in Halifax this season already. So I hope there's not any more to come.
I think we've still got Shaman Talk with us, and perhaps I don't know whether they've heard anything yet as to what sort of side Halifax will be putting out, because clearly Halifax and Notts' primary objectives this season are absolutely the same, and that is to get back into the Football League. So I guess it will be interesting to see whether both teams put out full strength sides, both teams rest a few players, both teams put out shadow squads. What would you be looking at, Les, from that fixtures perspective? Is it a similar squad to the one that you put out on Saturday? Do you go for it with a full strength team?
I'm not sure on the fixtures that follow whether there's a midweek game before the Saturday, but I would think Ian will use it as a game where he would like to use the fringe players again to give them experience, because league is paramount, league results, and we're coming to the run-in now. We'll be down to a dozen or 15 games to go, and he'll want to make sure that all the boys are fit for selection, so he can pick his best team. They're all fit on Saturday, so he's feeling quite positive about things.
Yeah, Shaman Talk's just come on here. Our manager, Pete Wild, stated he is taking the competition seriously, but the main aim is to get back in the EFL. At Alfreton, just up the road from us, we played a full-strength side. So that's interesting. That possibly indicates a full-strength side from them against us. We'll have to wait and see. Chris Gosling says no midweek games either side of the trophy game as it stands. Pythagorean, fringe players at Halifax, please. Ian Bircham, I think IB uses it as a chance for fringe players. Chloe, as a millennial, you've never seen Notts play at Wembley or had a chance to go to Wembley and watch us in the flesh. And I think it's fair to say the younger the generation, the more importantly they view taking this competition as seriously as possible. So if you are head coach of Notts County, would you be putting a full strength team out at Halifax, or fringe, like a few fringe players coming in as they did on Saturday?
I think what I do is, I think someone spotted that we've got Dover away one side of the fixture,
That's right.
which really,
15. Yeah,
yes, that adds something into it. Absolutely. I think if there was no games on the Tuesday, I think you see a few more first team players as such. Personally, I'd go for similar to what he played the other day. With a mixture of first team players and these fringe players, with a lot of first team players on the bench. We know what Ian's like. He's very positive, and he knows when he feels like he needs to change it, and whether that's at half time, and he knows we're still in the game at that point. Then we've got a lot of players to come off the bench. We've got a real good squad going now, getting some depth in there, and obviously there could be some more players coming through the door before we end up playing that fixture. But yeah, absolutely, I feel like it'll be kind of like a half and half. But again, they should be good enough to step up. This is their opportunity again to show us what they've got. For me, this is probably the worst draw we could have got, personally, especially if they're going out and playing a full strength team. It's not going to be an easy fixture. I think in a few trophy games, you lose a little bit of intensity. But then again, we do tend to play better against the better sides because we can open them up more, and they don't sit back. So that's also an opportunity for us. So yeah, it's not an easy game at all, especially away from home. But I can imagine it'll be very much a mixed side, and people having to step up from the bench.
It's amazing the quirks of cup competitions, Les. You so often see clubs from the same division, when they're drawn in a cup competition, that a fortnight later, they play each other in the league. And of course, that's exactly the case with this one as well. I think it's 10 days after that we play them in the league. Now, clearly, there's got to be more at stake in that league game, given Halifax are top, we're fourth at the minute. Does that have any bearing, do you think? Do the managers not want to show their hand in that trophy game, or is everyone overthinking it like that?
I think Chloe touched on it early on, and I speak with Ian, and he wants to win every game that Notts County are playing, and he's selecting a team that he believes will be good enough to win. He's got every faith in the players, shall we say, that what we consider not to be automatic selections that can come in and do a job. And he's giving them the opportunity to come in and do that, and to say to him, hey, I want a first team place. And that's what you want. That's what you want as a manager. You want players competing for every single position. And when you've got that, you've got one hell of a squad. And we're not far away from that at this moment in time. I think it's very much like a flower blossoming. We've seen a lot of players getting better. They've been together now for quite a long time with this season. Players that maybe initially, we're looking at Frank Vincent when he first came. He was injured and we wondered who he was. Now he's wow factor to me. Some of the passes that he is putting in there. I mean, one thing that I don't see us doing and over a period of time is scoring crap goals. All the goals that we score could be on Match of the Day on the Premiership. We're scoring some fantastic goals, and we don't get these knock-ins, these bobble-ins. So that's maybe one thing that we need to work on. Everything is to perfection, and that is coming because of the quality that we have with the passers now. Things have moved on. We are a very, very good squad. And that was interesting to hear the manager's comments at Kings Lynn. He was singing the praises of the football that we play. I know the owner wasn't too much, but no, I honestly believe that that managers in that league now know that they've got a handful when they take on Notts County.
Plenty of comments coming in. Total Football, as we love it, says Chris Gosling. Ian Birchnell, Vincent has made himself undroppable with Palmer at the moment. And just to tidy up the sequence around this trophy game. We assume it's Saturday that we will be going to Halifax. It's then 3 days later on the Tuesday, it's the rearranged game with Dover. So it's the 12th and 15th of Feb, just so you know. So we are at home. Sorry, we're away at Halifax on the Saturday. We then go down to Dover, weather permitting, on the Tuesday evening. Ahoy Magpies, says Remy Sky. Shaman Talk says that going to Wembley with Halifax was what really got me involved with the club. Like my dad and uncle. When I was younger, I was between Huddersfield and Halifax. But now the one club for me is Halifax. Okay. Momentum. Big thing in football. 4 wins in the league on the bounce, 6 on the bounce, including the trophy. Do you sense something special brewing, Chloe, as a fan? Because a lot of people are mentioning this at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult to be overly optimistic with Notts because every season we start the season off like, yeah, it's our season, and then slowly it starts going down the route of playoffs, and it's all. I don't know how anyone enjoys playoffs, especially when you're renowned for losing them.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal.
Oh, it's like the cooking clock or the phone, Les. Yellow card, 5 fine.
But yeah, so at the minute, this is the most positive I've been in a season, especially in the National League, which is, I know, it's so difficult because this is probably kind of the worst time to be in this league with the competition that we've got and the players and the managers that we've got down here now. But this is the best football I've seen at Meadow Lane in a long time. And yeah, confidence at the minute is sky high. Kind of no matter who we're playing, no matter which team is playing, everyone's confidence is up there because everyone's getting minutes now because we've got so many games coming up. But yeah, I think the whole feeling around the club, whether that's behind closed doors in the offices and whether that's the fans and throughout the players, I think everyone has got every confidence that we're going to give it our best shot. Hopefully we haven't got any more blips in the road to come. Obviously, I don't imagine that we're going to go throughout the rest of the season without losing another game, but as long as you keep them numbers down and you beat the teams that you kind of are in and around them playoffs, then we're giving ourselves the best possible opportunity. I believe we've got the players for it. And if we've got players coming in, there's also a really positive attitude around the January transfer window, not so much people coming in, but what Ian said about kind of members of the team going out. What I've heard from him is extremely positive. We're not even listening to offers that are kind of nowhere near what we'd ever take for our best players. So, which is the best part about it. We talk about lows on this podcast, whether we're a selling club, and we haven't seen that so far. I think some people have got this kind of mentality that that's what we are, but I've not seen that so far whatsoever, which is really positive. And like I say, we're giving ourselves the best chance possible to go up. So, yeah, let's see how far we can go in the league and in the trophy, but it's not a difficult draw at all.
If I could just come in, Paul,
yes,
two key things for me in this last month was the interview with the young lad Richardson coming over from Forest, who was gobsmacked at the quality. He came in thinking he was coming into a non-league club, and then he was gobsmacked at the quality in the training session. So much so that he's enjoyed his football, and I know firsthand from Gary Brazil that he wanted to stay here till the end of the season. That is massive. And then the interview with Zach Brunt, all what he'd gone through, and then he was talking about Southend coming up here and how Notts County played football, how they passed it about, and he couldn't wait when he had the opportunity to go where he wanted to sign for Notts County. And I thought they are two big pluses if players are thinking that way, and other clubs must be thinking that way. I think they were two great signings for me to keep Richardson till the end of the season, because his first three games were phenomenal in his contributions with setting up goals and scoring a goal, and Brunt in the way he changed the game at Kings Lynn. You know, that is massive. That coming into a dressing room with the lads that's already there, and then hearing that from new faces coming in, gives everybody a lift, and you can't wait to get going again. So those two interviews were it certainly lifted me. I thought we're on a roll here. We've got a great chance.
Yeah, I think both in terms of results on the pitch and the transfer window so far, Notts are strengthening and retaining players. You know, there was almost some element of the fan base on social media that were trying to like prepare you to be a selling club, and you know, we need to understand that the club has to sell players to break even. A lot of rubbish, in my opinion. And we've had this discussion. You alluded to it, Chloe, with Mark Stellard last week. There's no indication whatsoever that the owners have any interest in selling a single player. And I'm sure if you are Ian Birchinall right now, you've gone halfway through a season. So you're now coming to the business end of the season, as you mentioned, Les. You want every player available, because every player somewhere along the way has a part to play. Might not be for all 23 games. It might be for one game. It might be Eli Sam comes off the bench, scores 2 goals in a game, and you win, and them 3 points are pivotal. And if he's not there, you've lost that option. So I would be very encouraged with the window so far. And I think you said it there as well. You have players that wish and want to be part of something. Now, I think quite clearly, given the quality of some of the players, summer would be a time to deliberate and consider your future when the season is over, you know where Notts are. And as a player, people forget that footballers are human beings just like the rest of us. And they can then sit down in the summer and work out what it is they want to do with their career. Be that a Kai Wotton, be that a Cal Roberts, be that a Ruben Rodriguez. And the club would also take a look at it in terms of the length of their contracts. But at the minute, unless a player is desperate to get away and he's unhappy, which 99.9% none of them are, then you clearly want to roll with what you've got and give yourself the best chance, because the next 4 months make or break Notts County's next 18 months. Because if we go up, jobs are good. And if we don't go up, you've got another 18 months of being in this godforsaken league. But give yourselves the best chance. And at the minute, there's great momentum. And I think the transfer window is working very well. And there's clearly a very good team spirit among all of the players. Like you said, with Jaden wanting to focus on here, Zach Brunt wanting to come here from Southend. So I think at the minute, things look very, very good. I guess the one thing, as we spoke about before, Les, this is tough. This is tough with only one automatic to get out. I did wonder, whether Chesterfield, they've come off the back of Chelsea, all the rest of it, and then Barnet have been doing well. Is it after the Lord Mayor's show? And Chesterfield go down there and win 4-1, which I'm not sure I necessarily saw, but that's kind of a marker of the standard and the number of wins we're going to need to get between now and the end of the season.
Absolutely, and it's not just Chesterfield, is it? There are other clubs in there, and they've all got desires to get back up. And you pointed it out this time last year that this is a great opportunity to go up. Each year that goes on now, the National League is getting stronger and stronger, and it's making it more and more difficult to get promoted from. I'm pretty sure if you did the stats, I'll bet the attendances in the National League are probably higher than the league above this season. So yeah, it is very difficult, and as we see from clubs that are getting promoted, they are comfortably staying and at that level above them, and they're getting promoted from that level. So the standard has certainly moved forward. It is not a part-time league by any means anymore. And yeah, it is a very difficult league to get out of.
Chloe, Barnet, Friday night, beaten 4-1 by Chesterfield. You were there on the opening day in North London, weren't you? It's not going to be as easy as last time, is it?
I would doubt it, very much so. The pluses were at home, been a great run of form. We've got kind of everybody back fit. I know at the beginning of the season, Barnet were having a bit of a tough time, and I'm sure losing at home first game of the season 5-0 didn't help that. But they're certainly not what they were first game of the season. But it's a must-win game for Notts, like pretty much all the games are, especially at home. It's a different one, a night under the lights, not on a Tuesday, but on a Friday. I like having a bit of a difference, and you actually got a weekend free. But yeah, it's great. I really enjoy a Friday night. Like I say, it's just something a bit different. But again, I see it more so the players have a bit of a rest. We've got a lot of games coming up. So it gives them a long weekend as well. So I know Ian talks about our recent games that have kind of been postponed last minute, that it's really messed up with our training schedule. So a Friday night game can kind of only help that, get us back on track. But yeah, so I am kind of expecting a win. I know it's never that easy, and no opponent in this division is an easy game. But I don't think I can see us losing at home on Friday or for the hopeful foreseeable. I know someone's mentioned March is coming up very quickly, and we know how difficult that's going to be with obviously playing Chesterfield twice in the same month. That's going to be pivotal. So all we can do is keep winning, and like you say, build the momentum up, and Friday is another great opportunity to do so.
Where are you with Friday night football, as you like it? Are you a traditionalist that thinks it should always be Saturday? Clearly it can't be because of Forest. But when Alan Hardy was chairman, he did actively take a look at putting games on a Friday night. One of his theories was that a lot of youngsters who were playing football on a Saturday struggled to get along to Meadow Lane. Certainly, kind of at the start and end of the season, where the weather's a bit nicer for an evening kickoff. I mean, I don't know what our fan base thinks of Friday football compared to Saturday. What's your take on it?
Well, after I left Notts County in '78, I went to Stockport, and they played all their home matches of a Friday evening. Due to the competition around the area with the Manchester clubs affecting attendances. And we always had healthy gates. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So as a player, yes, the issue comes with your attendances. You know, we have at Notts County quite a lot of seniors that support Notts County, and the stats show that when there are evening fixtures, particularly through the winter months, a number of those don't attend. So that's maybe one thing that you have to look at as well. It's not promising for the older generation to come out late at night. So yeah, there's pluses for it on the playing side. There's negatives from the support side. So I can understand why people get a bit concerned if you want to go down that route and play on a Friday evening.
Yeah, M4 says, I like the odd Friday game, but not every week. Chris Gosling, Saturday 3 p.m. end of. Dale Pikett, we could be 8 points behind the leaders on Friday, as it's Maidenhead v Chesterfield and Stockport v Eastleigh tomorrow night. Guess that's all part and parcel of the psychology, isn't it? Because lots of teams moved for televised games 5:30 on a Saturday rather than 3. As best you can, it's trying to focus on what you do, because you can't control the other things, I guess is how managers and players look at these sorts of things. Andrew Blatherwick, I seem to remember Torquay always used to play on Saturday nights. That would be a big no for me. Can't quite remember that. I think there were several teams used to play Fridays in the Jurassic era, long before Chloe was around. Didn't Southend used to be a Friday night team as well, Les? Was it Colchester? What, some of them out there were Friday nights, definitely.
Yeah, I can certainly remember going back to the late 60s. I'm playing Southend on a Friday evening.
Tranmere were Friday, weren't they, because of Liverpool, Everton?
Yeah, there was a number of clubs in those days that went down that route. I don't know whether you had to seek special permission to change the fixture. Because it was a little bit different in those days to what it is now, wasn't it? But
anyway,
from the playing side, players will adapt to anything. But difficult with the support.
It's definitely Friday night. It's definitely Barnet this coming evening, Friday, and we have a special guest, Les, among others. So reveal all.
Yes, well, I'm pretty sure that all the supporters know that this Friday's game has got a special dedication to it in memory of Colin Slater. There's all sorts of things going on behind the scenes to prepare for Friday's game. The programme is going to be dedicated to Colin. I've been asked to get some former players and managers down to the game so that they can be interviewed before the game. And one of those is Neil Warnock, who this morning sent me a lovely text message that he was coming up with his good lady, all being well. He's had to make a few arrangements. He'll be in there, obviously, hopefully talking to our hospitality guests. I received another message from Sam Allardyce, who would love to have been coming along. He wanted to come, but he's tested positive for COVID this morning, so he can't make it. I've had so many lovely messages about Colin. He's touched so many people. So, we're hoping it's going to be a great celebration of Colin's life prior to the game.
I mean, that's some effort from Neil, because we know, Les, that Neil, he doesn't exactly live. Well, he don't live in Compton Acres anymore, does he? That is for sure. When he was at Notts, he used to be on the Compton Acres estate. He lives in Cornwall, so that is a proper effort. And I think when we were with Mark Stallard last week, Mark was telling us a story about Neil did a tribute to the BBC for Colin. And after he'd done the tribute, he asked to be kept on the line so he could carry on listening to the show to hear what people were saying about Colin, because Neil wanted to kind of listen in and, get a feel for the reverence with which Colin was held. So Neil is coming up into hospitality. So if fans want to upgrade, tell us how it works, upgrading your tickets, buying hospitality, what if people want to be involved in that, in inverted commas, witness it firsthand, what do they need to do?
I'm not sure whether there's any available. I do know at the match on Saturday, I was speaking to Alice Kelp, who organises all the hospitality, and she was telling me how busy most of the home matches are from now till the end of the season. In fact, anybody listening today, if they're thinking of coming to any of the games and enjoy some hospitality, my advice would be to get booked in early. Don't leave it till the last minute. Our last home game, is it against Altrincham? I think that's virtually sold out already. So, it's gone down really, really well. I'm not going to talk too much about the hospitality, but I know it's very high on the agenda, having experienced what some of our supporters got at Kings Lynn last week.
Oh, yeah, you were paying for a Michelin star equivalent for a meal, weren't you? And it was, I don't know, chicken in a basket or something, was it? I can't remember, but
it was chili without any taste, with fried rice, a tin of soup, and I think there was a bit of cake for 65 quid.
Les, look, you're a working class person. You might vote for the Tories, but hey, look, you're selling yourself. How can you be in hospitality? I was lent on a stanchion in the standing area with a cotton. No, in fact, I took my own soup, to be fair. I took my own homemade celery soup. It was very nice as well. Because my lad spent 30 minutes queuing for a burger and chips. 30 minutes in the first half. At least he could still watch the game with that little porter cabin at the back.
Good job it didn't rain last week, was it?
I went straight for the bit down the side that was under cover. Which, if it had rained, it would have been very, very, very congested.
Yeah. But just going back to Friday, I've been asked to get a number. I think I've got 6 so far. And Neil Humphrey, who runs does the hosting in the hospitality areas, he's going to interview those guests, with their stories to tell about Colin. And he's touched so many people over his life in Nottingham, hasn't he?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, it will be a massive outpouring. People wishing to pay their respects. It will be a very emotional night on Friday, that is for sure. Now, certainly there was hospitality available earlier today. Jürgen Halligan says, I've just paid for hospitality this morning for the Barnet game. So I suggest you get on to Alice or whoever very quickly if you want to be able to get up close and personal with Neil Warnock and hear a few first-hand tales, plus the other guests as well that Les is very busy assembling. Everyone seems obsessed with food this evening. Remy Sky, well, Mr. Mace, if we don't win the league but do make the playoff final, I will bring you some New York City pizza from my family's place. You'll love it. I like pizza, especially when it's from Italy, in Sorrento. I'll hold you to that. Here comes the catch from Remy. I'll expect some of that homemade recipe in return, good sir. Yeah, no problems at all. Chloe, you would have come across Colin a little bit as well, wouldn't you?
Yes, definitely. And I have obviously had the pleasure to meet him a couple of times. Being up in hospitality, he was always in and around the club. And yeah, the best way to describe him is Mr. Notts County, and he's always going to be remembered by that. And I'm sure there'll be so many stories on Friday night. And I've never, ever, never will hear a negative word about him. He represents everything good that the club has ever had and ever will have. So yeah, it'll be a great evening on Friday dedicated to him.
The club also have announced funeral arrangements for Colin over the weekend, Les. As I understand it, if clearly there is St Mary's is a very, very, very big church, but it will be at capacity and more. So the club have put something on the website today that if you would like to attend, there's an online form to fill in, and then the club would get back to you. So it's kind of I hesitate to use the phrase ticket only event, but it's kind of like pre-approved to be able to attend, but you are welcome. The club are going to be doing a closed circuit stream of it, I believe, and I guess clearly some people will be waiting outside the church as well. And it is going to be a venerable parade, isn't it, of Notts County managers, players, officials, past and present.
Absolutely, that's another role that I've been assisting with, finding out what former players, managers would like to come to the funeral. I've got a list of over 24 that are coming to that as well. Howard Wilkinson's hoping to be there. John Barnwell's coming along. Ian Barraclough, Craig Short, who have all stuck in there. Dean Yates is coming down. It's just endless. I could go on and on and on. It's just so many people that want to say goodbye to Colin, and I think the club have put out this information because they don't want lots of people stood out the church can't get in. So I think this is a way of monitoring what sort of number of people want to go there and deal with it that way. And I think the live stream will be fantastic. If you can't get there, it'll be a wonderful way of feeling that you're in there and part of it. The Lifeline organisation has provided the club with quite a sizable donation recently that's going to be used for buying the latest camera equipment, the latest in terms of the best clarity and the best feedback from footage. And Stevie Carter, who deals with that side of the business down at Notts, he's hopeful that he's going to get that in before the funeral and use it probably for the first time in the church. And he says that, people that will be watching will be gobsmacked in what they're able to see. So that's it's great from all angles, isn't it? The people that are members of Lifeline contributing, and this is what it's doing to the club. It's helping them to provide all of this, the good things. And Colin will be looking down, thinking, "Wonderful! Wow, how wonderful is that club?"
Before we finish tonight, let's just kind of like wrap up with a view of the promotion picture. So, Chloe, and there's been a lot of this on the messages this evening, and I think a consensus, and rightly so, is that this is not just a shootout between one or two teams for the automatic. This is a shootout 6, 7, 8, 9 clubs. Some of those clubs have done remarkably well with more limited budget. Boreham Wood still waging on FA Cup, FA Trophy, only lost 2 games after Shimanga. Dagenham seem to have come back into it again after having a bit of a rough spell. I'm not even sure you would write Grimsby off just yet, although they would clearly need to bounce back pretty spectacularly. Head and heart, Chloe, they might well be different. What's your view come end of season? Who's top?
My heart would love to say Notts, but I don't know what it is, because I think we've got the players to do it. I think maybe there's something in the back of my head going, just don't be overly optimistic, because it absolutely kills in the end. I would love, I think, to get second or third. I think it's not the two games that kill you off in the playoffs, it's the away leg that kills teams off. And I think if you end up playing that away leg and winning, that gives you so much momentum going into the final. But it is a big ask. And we know, especially looking at last season, that Chesterfield game, it was so tight, but definitely being at home took us over the edge. So let's say, let's go for third, squeezing into that top three.
Okay. Head and heart, Les, what's your take?
This is a difficult one in terms of, it's like the horse race I've mentioned before.
Yeah.
We've come around that final bend, we're on that straight, and you're going to see a lot of jockeying. I think you'll see teams going up there and coming back down again. Chesterfield have given themselves a great chance by getting out of they're not involved in the trophy. Their focus is just on the league now. Whether it's going to be a test for their players, can you get up there and can you stay there? That's another thing. It's a different pressure that comes on with it. And, I'm not sure Boreham Wood, you went to Boreham Wood. I was there. I wasn't over impressed with them that night. I felt we should have come away with a win there. So I think we're in a really good position, and hoping the players that mentally can keep this going, stay positive. What has really amazed me is the number of games that we have gone behind. And I don't know, it seems like virtually every game we go behind and then we come back and win. And that has to be a massive positive, that they're not dropping their heads, they're kicking on. So I think possibly over the last 3 seasons, for me, this one, I feel that we have a greatest opportunity. I don't know how it's going to finish. We don't know, because, as I say, there are teams up there that haven't been in this position before, have they? So we just don't know. But I'm very optimistic.
Okay, well, here's my take, because we'll never try and fudge it. My top 3, and not necessarily in this order, but my top 3 would be, I'll say Notts first, but I'll go on to who I think may finish top. I would say Notts, Chesterfield, and Stockport. I think will be the top 3. Sorry to upset the Shaymen there. I think Chesterfield are almost a yardstick by which you judge everyone else this season. With the manager, the remarkable turnaround in results, because whatever you say about James Rowe, and I know a lot of our fans like to wind up, and whatever you say about Chesterfield with appealing for frost coverings and all the rest of it, the turnaround in results since he arrived is truly phenomenal. And I have a possible sneaky feeling that he is the next Neil Warnock, playing a certain style of football, winding a lot of people up. But that doesn't necessarily mean he gets over the finishing line this year, because I think there's going to be a lot of pressure being put on Chesterfield in the coming weeks. They've not had a bad run yet. They've not had a bad run. I hear stories that Shimanga has got a release clause in his contract, that if a club meets that value of the release clause, then effectively the transfer of whether he stays or he goes is taken out of Chesterfield's hands. But whether someone else meets that clause, I'm not sure in the current financial climate. And clearly James Rowe will be doing everything he can to Shimanga to say, stay until the end of the season and see where we get to. Challen has done it been there, done it, got the T-shirt. And I think that does count for quite a bit. And he's done it recently as well. It's not like he's got promotions on his CV 10 years ago. And Stockport is a club close to his heart. There's not a lot of pressure on them right now. I think they will pick a lot of points up. As it stands, I think, and if you look in transfer this window, Notts are doing as well as anybody, and have got good momentum. But that momentum is going to need to kick on for a good 2 months. We can't afford another 3 defeats on the bounce anywhere along the way, because I just think the bar is going to be set so high for points. I think you could miss out on top spot with 89 points this year. I think you can miss out on it. I think you may well need a 9 in front of you to get automatic. We will see. I've been reading somewhere where someone's gone for Boreham Wood because of their miserly defence. Interesting. I guess they thrive on the fact that everybody continually writes them off, but they're still there. Shaman talk. Bromley definitely not. Boreham Wood maybe, however, reckon they will fall apart. Now they have clearly, you were making the point earlier, Les, they're going to have fixture problems all over the place. FA Cup and FA Trophy.
Absolutely.
Right. They'll only be playing about 2 games before the end of Feb, won't they, in the league? I mean, it's remarkable what they're doing there. Chris Gosling says, outside of Notts, no one is talking about Notts, so we're still operating under the radar to some extent. I think that's a fair point, and I think that is what Chesterfield are going to have to cope with. I mean, we're kind of glossing over the fact that Halifax are setting the pace here, and there's not necessarily a lot of expectation on Halifax either. I think. What about the mental side of things, Les? You'd have experienced this as a player. Physical's one side. Number of players in your squad, injuries, all the rest of it. Where does mentality kick in?
That is the pressure that I referred to, and I was just saying that the teams will it's the expectancy. It's in my days it was picking up papers and reading about this team's going to do that. Nowadays it's the social media, and players have to cope with that. They have to go out against, if you're Chesterfield and it's expected of you, you've got to go out and deliver. If you don't deliver, then all that media stuff, it kicks in, and then players start to have self-doubts. Have we been a bit lucky where we are? All of that is going on, and that is where the mindset. And we were very fortunate to have a guy called Jimmy Cyril who kept all that away from us, and we didn't get involved in it. He kept us focused on our jobs, and I think we did it pretty well. We stuck to that. I'm not saying that Chesterfield won't or Stockport won't, but these are pressures that come with it. As you say, Challen has done it at Hartlepool. He's changed Stockport's style of play. They've become more direct now, similar to Hartlepool. So you would expect them to continue, with good results. There's no reason why not. They have experienced players in there that's been there and done all of that. Some have got promotion in the leagues with it and gone there. So it's going to be tough, no doubt about it. But long way to go. We still got, how many games have we got left to play? 18, 19. There's a lot of points, to play for. Nearly 60 points still to play for. So, yeah, that month of March will be key. Not just for ourselves, but for other clubs as well. There's some big games coming in there. And I keep looking at the fixtures, and we don't see too much of, I keep mentioning Chesterfield, but I don't see them playing anybody at the top. So somewhere along the line, they must be going to Stockport, playing Stockport or Wrexham or Halifax. These games must be coming along where they're taking points off of each other. So, yeah, we'll wait and see.
Cyprus ref, Paul, I am sure winners will be 93 or 94 points. Yeah, you might know, you could well be right. He's done the top 7. First, Chesterfield. Second, Stockport. Third, Notts. Fourth, Grimsby. Fifth, Boreham Wood. Sixth, Wrexham. 7, Dagenham. D&G. I think that's Dolce and Gabbana, isn't it? Dagenham and Redbridge. DNR.
Halifax have dropped down a long way then.
Chris Gosling, I think the top teams will take points off each other. 87 or 88. Gary Wardle, it's the mentality of Notts concerns me, Paul, but thankfully most of the concerns are drivel talk from fans. Slocum, Roberts and Eli unconfident, plus Stars being sold off in January. Blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Ian Birchner, what is pivotal to us is how we do against the lower teams. That's where we struggle. Chloe, final one tonight, and I want to get your viewpoint. Les touched on it from the mentality of a player. In the Jurassic period, we get the papers out, and the first thing every player ever looked for, right? But you'll bear me out, Les, because they wouldn't read the match report. All the players used to get marked out of 10. Lee Curtis still has to do it now and again. He don't like doing it, right? And they'd look, Brad, 9. Oh, great report. I've played fantastic. Brad, 4. God, that reporter knows nothing about it. Was he watching? He need to have played the game in his life. How can he give me a 4? Am I correct?
You've got it, Paul.
Nowadays, and you are millennial and the new era, everything's social media. So players will be tweeting things. Pond Life from all clubs have them, will be saying something about a player that if that player walked into them in the pub, they'd never dare say it. And we say, "Oh, can I have a selfie, please?" Yeah, and on a tweet, it's what a complete moron this bloke is. Worst player I've ever seen in a Notts County shirt. See, can I have a selfie? Right. So, as a young person, and and the players, how do you stop it completely controlling your life? Even at this level on Magpie Circle and that lot, you'll get people say, "Oh, Chloe Page, don't know what she's on." Oh, Chloe Page, brilliant. I mean, young people, it can be a problem, social media, spending too much time on it. And our players, clearly, that is something they have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'd be different for everyone. You've got to kind of have a really tough head screwed on to be able to ignore it. I mean, a lot of our players touch on it, maybe tweet something, put something on Instagram, which shows that they're noticing.
Yeah.
Whether that means that it's affecting them, I mean, some people can just shrug it off, but some people say they can shrug it off and actually it sticks with them a lot. I know Cal mentioned it recently because he was getting a lot of stick, and now look at him. So it's also very difficult to ask them as young people themselves not to be on social media. They'd miss out on a lot themselves with interacting with their own friends outside of football. I think social media kind of becomes part of your social life as such. That I personally interact with a lot of my friends, especially being in different parts of the country. With university, and I imagine that's exactly the same with football. That is how you stay connected. So to be asked to take that away, just to kind of ignore these hate comments that they get, it must be so difficult. And I'm glad that I personally don't have to deal with it. But yeah, so kind of, I don't know. It's like I say, it must be so difficult for each player. And I suppose the further up the pyramid you get, does it go one way or the other? The more media attention, is it easier to ignore? And maybe that a few comments, with us having less of a following as, I don't know, Championship and Premier League teams, do these comments become more personal? I don't know. And I can't fault any of them because I don't think it's let any of their heads drop. And we speak about Cal Roberts a lot with his injuries. So these players have got a lot to deal with off the pitch, never mind on the pitch as well. So it's not helpful, especially when it's your own team. But I can't fault any of them. None of them have kind of turned on the fans or anything. So yeah, and let's be honest, it is a real minority that that do kind of go to thumb wars and on social media, and they let their emotions get to them over what is a game of football, and it's these people's lives at the end of the day. But I don't know how you'd ignore it, to be honest, because it is so engraved in young people's social lives that I don't think it would be really an option for them to not have it. So to ignore any comments must be difficult. So I do feel for them.
We should do a special on this at some point, and maybe even get a player involved. Social media, positives, negatives. Why are so many people anonymous?
Because it's extremely easy to then have your opinion, and I imagine you can easily remove yourself from that. If your name is not attached to what you're saying, you kind of have no affiliation with it as such. That has been sent out there in the world, and I suppose you can forget about it. If your name is not attached to that, like anything in life, if you haven't got your name on it, then who's to kind of come and hunt you down? But I personally, and like you say, maybe we should have a long conversation about this, that nobody should be allowed to be anonymous. I think if you're making hate comments, you should have to deal with your own actions and your own words. You've clearly said that if you don't want your name attached to something, then you shouldn't be saying it at all. And if you are still saying it with your name attached to it, then what kind of person does that say that you are? I mean, I know emotions get the best of, can get to all of us at the best of times, but it's what you do with that. I mean, I'm lucky that I kind of go to games with like my family and friends, and you vent to them. You don't need to let everybody else know on social media what you think about every person, because that's not what you do really. But yeah, the whole anonymous thing, I just think that is ridiculous, that if you can physically type something that you don't want any affiliation to once it's been sent, that's just not how social media should be working. And I think that it's a big conversation that everybody should have to kind of provide some kind of identification for creating any social media account or anything that's going to get posted on the internet and seen by other people, that if that is seen as like a hate or racism or any other kind of means of hate, that you should be identifiable for that and your account should be taken down. And it's just too easy these days that there's certain accounts that are purposely made to go and make hate to not just players but other celebrities on social media and just other people in general, that even if their comment gets taken down and their account gets banned, that it's so easy to just create another one. So yeah, this is part of a bigger conversation, but I do feel for the players, especially they don't want to have to deal with their own problems off the pitch and then have to deal with kind of something that someone's come down the road and thinks they've got an opinion on. So
well, we will definitely do a special show on that, and I would love to get some of our anonymous numpties that inhabit social media. The problem, of course, I'm not quite sure how you get an anonymous social media numpty to agree to come on here with their face and be accountable for what they say anonymously on social media. However, we shall try. One show we have got, and we will have it in the can later this week, delighted to confirm, is that we have got Mark Ives, the general manager of the National League. Now, he don't give many interviews. I'm struggling to find any, but he has agreed to do a special podcast for us later this week. We're going to be doing that on Thursday afternoon. We're going to be doing it, we call it in the industry, as a pre-record, like we would do the one-on-one player and manager interviews. If you have got any specific questions that you want, drop us a line on any of our social media channels, and I want them to be constructive questions, not rantings and ravings, because that makes us just as bad as Stephen Cleave and Jim Parmenter. I want constructive questions, because the National League has not traditionally always been very forthcoming in explaining itself, and there has been a vacuum. Clearly, we're going to be discussing the whole scenario around postponements, what happens, communication, fans travelling, not just us. Woking went to Kingston a few days after us. Complete lack of communication by the clubs. What are the policies and procedures in place for that? We're going to be talking about big clubs in the National League. Where are we with an EFL third division? Where is the National League in terms of levelling up rather than dumbing down? Full-time referees, clearly extra places for promotion. All this, I've been liaising with Mark and his people, so we're going to be talking about that and more. But if you've got any specific questions you want us to ask, please drop us a line, and we will then play that podcast out in its entirety, either Thursday evening, it depends how quickly my lad can edit it, or it will probably go out on the Friday. We'll keep you posted. Shaman Talk the Airport. It'd be great to get on our podcast for our league game. Yeah, no problems. Andrew Botherwick emailed you a couple of questions on the link in the Magpie Circle website. Thank you very much. We'll be putting all of those together. Les, have you got a question from Archives? What would you like to ask? If we, well, I will be asking them. Any query that you have as a former player, lifelong with Notts County, what would you like to ask the big cheese at the National League?
I think possibly you've touched on it. It's the experience that I had going to Kings Lynn, along with all the other supporters. And if that wasn't tough enough, then on the Saturday, I know you were one, a lot more went down to Dover with a very similar experience. And for me, the weather on both of those mornings wasn't bad enough, shall we say, that the pitch had changed from, shall we say, 10 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. I can't say in my mind that, having driven down to Kings Lynn and experienced the weather conditions, nobody, we called into a pub and not one local or one of the travelling fans ever mentioned there might be a pitch inspection. So I just find that unacceptable. And for the owner to say, well, 5 years ago we played in worse conditions against Boston, that isn't good enough. It doesn't happen in the Football League. Local referees are called in. I do know that Notts County made a call. This is the Dover match. I do know that they got in touch with the club to see if there's any issues, and were told no issues at all. At the same time that there was calling in a referee to come and inspect. So somewhere along the line, that can't be acceptable. The National League need to get involved and need to put in operations that stop that happening for the sake of the fans travelling. It's just, it's disrupted Notts County, the players and the management in their training agenda with matches coming up, and it's just not on, and it's not necessary to happen. But we do know why they're doing it. They know that Notts County are going to bring several hundred more fans on a Saturday afternoon than they will on a Tuesday night. So it's going to cost a lot of money. But it can't be about that, can it?
Yeah, well, full-time referees, National League, is one of the things I'm going to be asking Mark as to whether that is feasible or not. And in answer to the various banter that's going on at the minute with Chris, Ian and Gary and others, I can see every word. Don't worry about that. Chloe, have you got any question I should be asking Mark Ives?
I think, let's be honest, the big one is postponements. It's not just been this season. It's been whilst we've been down here. And generally on the day, which is not ideal. I know COVID's a completely different story and there's only so much you can do about that. It's the ones where we've travelled down and we've got there, and like you say, there's been sometimes, like, we turn back to Fylde, that I've been there and I'm thinking, well, it's not even raining. So at what point and how many times do you rearrange a fixture before that there should be some kind of punishment as such? I know that it's not always the opponent's fault as such, but at what point can points be put into place, or a rearranged fixture, for argument's sake? I know the Kings Lynn one, it was even looking unlikely to be played on the Tuesday. So at what point could the league step in and be like, if you haven't played the reverse fixture already, is there any way of reversing that fixture. So if the weather, for argument's sake, against Kings Lynn was going to call the game off on the Tuesday, is there a possibility we could have played that at home? And then when it comes later on in the season, when the weather's better, we could have played it away, and just kind of what the options are around that, if that's an option at all. But yeah, just I think the postponements are the ones that have hit Notts fans really hard, because we do travel well, like Les says, and we still took a very good number down to Kings Lynn on a Tuesday night, after obviously what they experienced on Boxing Day, which is just not ideal at all. And they'll still, I know we'll see less at Dover, but there's still a lot of Notts fans that travel up and down the country. So the kind of least we ask for is some answers, and maybe that there is certain reasons behind why the kind of protocols that have to be put in place and their options that are available. So that might put just some kind of clear thoughts into Notts fans' heads going into future games. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to find it all out.
Yeah, I think we will all, including me, be very genuinely interested as to the answers we get from Mark, and clearly some of the points that people are raising now. TV rights deal, agreed totally, Chris. You need a skilled negotiator looking to double, treble the TV rights, given I cannot not believe the audience figures for BT have not gone through the roof in terms of the bigger clubs that have been relegated since that contract was signed and what they're now getting. The 5 subs rule, I suspect Mark will turn around, and to be fair, with quite a bit of being quite justified, would say, well, the clubs voted for 5, which he is correct, then you start to get into voting rights and structures. But I think there's been a massive vacuum from the National League in just communicating. And so this will be a good opportunity, one-on-one with Mark. It will be done properly and professionally, to educate people, and because the more you understand, the more that you can take in and find out, which if you don't know anything, you tend to give a lot of knee-jerk reactions. And I will be clearly very, very interested to hear what he has to say. One of my questions, if he's watching now, he's forearmed, is it acceptable, that Notts County fans and Woking fans travelled with no indication of any postponement for the game to be called off 90 and 50 minutes before a game? Does he think that is acceptable for the only feeder league into the Football League? And if he doesn't think it's acceptable, because I can't believe it is, what are the league going to do about it to stop it happening again? Because they got to a point, Kings Lynn on the Tuesday, lads, didn't we, whereby pitch inspections were clearly communicated at 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Why, if they can do it for one game in midweek, when in theory it should be harder to get a ref there, why isn't that the norm for when it's in the winter, when the weather's not going to be too great? But we shall see. Thank you very much, everyone, tonight for listening in and watching us. We should be back later this week. If you want hospitality on Friday and want to see Neil Warnock, get in quick. Jurgen got in this morning. Don't know what's left. Anyone wants to go to Colin's funeral, you need to fill in an online form that's on the club website. And look, don't forget, don't turn up on Saturday. It's Friday night against Barnet this week. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Les. Look forward to seeing everyone soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.